Hi class, this is your first instructional video, and the first thing that I want to talk about is how to set up an MLA document. Okay, so first things first, there's some things that you have to do on Word, or if you're working on Google, you have to do some things before you even start typing. All right, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to do font. So for MLA, you always want to use Times New Roman 12-point font. Okay, after you get your font correct, you're going to go to paragraph and you're going to make sure that your spacing, this is the space between each line, is set on 0 and 0. All right, you always want your line spacing on double. Okay, so we should be ready to go for that. The next thing about MLA that's very specific is what's called the pagination. Okay, basically those are page numbers. So we are going to double click into the header and tab over. Okay, tab over to the right hand side. Then you are going to type your last name. I'm going to pretend my name is Smith and hit the space bar. Okay, the space bar is really important there. You have to have a space between your last name and the page number. Then you're going to insert page number, scroll down and hover over current position and select plain number. Okay, now I am actually going to, that's not Times New Roman, so I'm going to change mine to Times New Roman so that everything matches. And I'm going to double click off of the header. And as you can see, if I scroll down, all my page numbers correspond with my last name and the correct page number. All right. If you need to look at that again, just rewind the video. All right. So once you have your pagination in place, we're going to look at margins really quick. Most of the time, the default on your computer will be correct. You want 1-inch margins on all sides, which is normal. Okay. All right. So on the first page of an MLA document, you always have the same 4 pieces of information. The first one is your name, the student name. I'm going to pretend that my name is Janice Smith. Okay. The next line is going to be my name, or the instructor name. The next line is going to be the name of the course. And then the final line is the date of the submission. Okay, so we're going to pretend that this assignment is due the 31st of May, 2017. All right, notice that in MLA, we use the date, month, and year format with no punctuation. So you should not have any commas there. When you are finished with the date, you are going to come down to the next line, and whatever the title of your paper is, you take that title and center it. Then you double space again, left align, indent, and then your paper starts here. Okay, so hopefully you remember that from English 111. The next thing we're going to do in this video is we're going to work on a works cited page. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open up formatting a works cited page. If you look at this module, you will see that I have included a PDF link to the 2016 update of Moodle. It's called, I think it says the MLA Style Guidelines or something like that. Anyway, the page numbers that you'll see on this PowerPoint go to that PDF. All right. So first things first, your works cited page should always begin on a brand new page. Okay. So regardless, if you get to line 2 of page 3, then you're going to go to page 4 before you begin your works cited page. All right. Secondly, the entries on your works cited page have hanging indents. A hanging indent is the first line of all entries, means it's flush with the margin, and all the other lines after that are indented 1/2 inch. And I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. And then lastly, once you get all your entries in the correct format, they should be cut and pasted into alphabetical order based on the first word of the entry. If the first word of the entry is A, an, or the, then you're going to skip that and go to the second word and alphabetize by the second word. Okay? If you have any questions about that, you can always look in that PDF, and then there are other specifications on pages 11 through 13 of that PDF. All right, so I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, so let's pretend that I just have this lovely paper, and I get to page 3. Okay, of course you would never type anything like that, but let's pretend like this is the end of my paper. I have to first start a brand new page. Okay, so I go to a fresh page for my works cited. Okay, first things first, you're going to type the words works cited. Okay, you would be shocked how many people get that wrong. I've seen walks cited, I've seen cited with an S, I've seen this thing in cursive, bold, underlined, anything you can think about. It's just two plainly typed words, works cited. Okay, that should be centered. And then I double space, and I left a line, and I'm ready for my first entry. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. All right, so the first example you'll see is a book with one author. This is on page 14 of that PDF. Okay, this is the format for a book with one author. It's the author's last name, comma, first name, period, the title of the book, and that's italicized, the publishing company, comma, and the date. Okay, just a year. That's it. All right, the next slide says book with one author, you try it. So I'm going to show you how this looks. Okay, book with one author. Here we go. So his name is Anderson, Mark, period. And we need the title of the book, italicized. I forgot what it said. All right, Understanding Bipolar Disorder. The publisher is Hyperion, and it was 2014. All right, so that's what my first entry should look like. Hope you understand that. If you don't, just pause it and rewind. All right, so as you can see, I did it in the right order. Okay, if this, let's say we had a longer title. Let's pretend that Mark Anderson's title was much, much longer, and I typed until I got to the second line. On the second line, okay, remember those hanging indents I told you about? We're going to go to paragraph, and then right here where it says indentation, click on hanging, and that will automatically bring you over 1/2 inch. Okay, and then when you're ready for your next entry, it will go, the cursor will go back to where it was before, flush with the left-hand margin. All right, I'm going back to the PowerPoint. All right, as you can see, I've given you examples of different types of sources that you might encounter. Books with two authors. Notice that the first author's name is inverted, last name first, then first name, and then the second author is written straightforward. Okay, and then it's the same as the one we just practiced. All right, books with 3 or more authors. When you get to 3 or more authors, you can start abbreviating a little bit. Okay, so you do the first author's name, Pat Holloway. Okay, and if there are 3 or more, you can type the abbreviation et al., which means and others. Okay, and others, and then everything else is the same. Okay, then you have an article accessed through a database. Okay, this is on page 20 of that PDF. It's author's last name, first name, the title of the article, the name of the periodical, the volume, issue, date, pages, name of the database, the URL, and the day that you accessed it. So you're going to encounter a lot of these because a lot of the work that we're going to do in our research is going to come from the online databases, and I'll show you how to use those, so no worries. All right. Let's try one of these. Okay. Fake news, America's newest epidemic. All right. So I don't think you guys want to look at my email. Let me go really quickly to that PDF, and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so we're going to go to page 20. Page 20. Make that bigger for you. Come on. Page 20. All right. This is just what it said. Okay, so I'm going to minimize this one. And then I'm going to get my document out and minimize that so that I have dual screens. Okay. And this one. Got a lot going on. Alright, so first thing they want is the author's last name and first name. Okay, so his name is Alvarado Miguel, and the name of the article in quotation marks is Fake News, America's Newest Epidemic. Okay, and then the next thing they want is the name of the publication, which is American Psychology, and that needs to be italicized. Next thing is the volume, issue, and date. Okay, and notice for volume, those aren't capitalized, and the issue is abbreviated with number. Okay, volume 6. And it's going to automatically capitalize, so we don't want that. Volume 6, issue 23. Alright, let me double check my punctuation to see if I'm on the right track. Okay, no, I'm not. That's supposed to be a comma. See, even the teacher messes up. There's no way that you can remember all this stuff. That's why we have this trusty little PDF to help us out. Alright, then we're going to look at pages. Alright, the pages 74 through 79. Good. The next thing it wants is, and this is the same stuff that's on page 20 of that PDF. The next thing it wants is the name of the database and the URL. Alright, so the database was ProQuest, and they would want that italicized. And then a comma, and then the URL. I don't know what it is. Oh, there it is. It's right there. Make sure that's not italicized. Okay, and then the next thing they want is when I accessed it. Okay, so let's say that I accessed it. So it tells me right there, 17 January 2017 period. Okay. Let me show you something else. We don't want any hyperlinks on a works cited page. So if you just take your cursor and hover over it and then right click, there's a button that says remove hyperlink, and that'll get rid of the underlining and the blue font for you. Okay, so as you can see, there's other examples on this PowerPoint. You can try those. All right, but the main thing I want you to know is that this is how your works cited page should look. Okay, since AL comes before AN, when I'm finished with however many sources I have, I know that that would come first. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please email me with any questions or concerns.